Everyone had fears in their childhood. The darkness under the bed, the creak of floorboards at night, the monster in the closet. My fear was a girl. I called her the quiet girl. I didn't remember where she came from. She just started coming to me one day when I was alone in my room. She never said a word, just sat in the corner, knees tucked up, and watched me with her huge, white, milk-like eyes. Her skin was unnaturally pale, like a porcelain doll's, and her hair was black as pitch. But the creepiest thing was her smile. Wide, frozen, unkind. She never changed that expression. She never did anything bad, didn't approach, didn't threaten, just sat and watched and smiled. I told my parents. They chalked it up to an overactive imagination, said, "You'll grow out of it." And I did grow up, and I really did grow out of it. I forgot about her for 20 years. Last week, I was sorting through junk in the attic of my old house. In a dusty cardboard box buried under school textbooks, I found an old VHS tape. On the label, in a child's handwriting, was written, "My birthday, 7 years." My heart skipped a beat for some reason. I didn't remember this tape. Downstairs in the living room, an ancient VCR was still standing. My hands were shaking as I inserted the tape. The screen filled with static, and then I saw that very children's room. Balloons, a cake, a little me in a paper hat. Everything seemed normal, but I was nervous, tense. I kept glancing towards one corner, behind the cameraman, my father. And then Dad turned the camera to film the whole room. The lens slowly panned past the sofa, the table with presents, and stopped at the darkest corner, behind the old wardrobe. There, in the shadows, she was sitting. The very same girl from my childhood. Not imaginary, not made up, real. Her pale face was turned towards me, the birthday boy. Black hair fell onto her shoulders, and her white, blind eyes were fixed on the spot where I stood 20 years ago. And on her face was that same, familiar to the point of chills, creepy, wide smile. I turned off the TV. My hands were shaking. I sat in silence, unable to comprehend it. So I didn't make her up. She was real. All these years I thought it was just a childhood nightmare, and she was real. I didn't sleep all night. The next day I went to my parents. I opened my laptop in front of them, showed them that very frame. "Who is this?" I asked. Mom turned pale and shrugged. "Probably some neighbor's girl. I don't remember." Dad looked carefully and shook his head. "Strange. I don't remember anyone being there at all. Must have been someone who came in and sat in the shadows. I didn't notice." But I saw their eyes. I saw them exchange a glance, a brief, instant look full of fear, secrecy. They knew something, and they were lying. I started calling relatives, everyone who was at that party. The answers were evasive. "We don't remember. It was so long ago. Are you making up some nonsense?" But one of my uncles, who was always drunk and had been pretty under the influence that day, grunted into the phone and said, "That chick with the milky eye? She was just sitting in the corner. Quiet one. Weird one. I thought she was your friend." I was friends with her, but I didn't remember it. I only remembered the fear. And then the scariest part began. After I watched the tape, she started coming again. Not for real, no. I saw her out to the corner of my eye, in the window of the neighboring house on a dark evening, in the dark doorway of the corridor when I turned off the light, in the reflection of my monitor when I worked late at night. The same silhouette with a pale face and black hair, and that same unchanging wide smile. She hadn't aged. She looked exactly like on that tape, like in my childhood nightmares. And yesterday I woke up in the middle of the night. I felt like someone was in the room. I lay still, listening. It was quiet, too quiet. Even the clock wasn't ticking. I slowly turned my head to the side, towards the nightstand. And there, on the floor, in a strip of moonlight, she was sitting. So close I could make out each feature of her porcelain face. Her white eyes were looking right at me, point blank. She leaned towards me. Her black hair almost touched my face. I felt an icy cold emanating from her. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. I just stared into those bottomless milk-white eyes. And then her lips, stretched in that creepy, unnatural smile, twitched, and she whispered. Her voice was quiet, like the creak of old wood, and yet childish. "Happy birthday. We're finally together again. You promised you'd never leave me. You're my only friend." And now I know. She never left. She was just waiting. Waiting for me to remember. Waiting for me to call her back myself by digging up that cursed piece of plastic with my past. And now she's here. She's always in the next room. I hear the floor creak. I see her shadow in the doorway. And I don't look into the corners of my room anymore, because I'm afraid to see that same creepy, wide smile there.